with cooperation, it's usually about bringing together what you can do along with what someone else can do to make something work or move forward or achieve a goal. Compromise is not necessarily the same thing, because you could compromise some skill that you have, something that you feel you're adept in order maybe to let someone else have the chance to do that. Maybe you compromise because you feel like it's good for this person to learn this, and so you'll give up this. Maybe they'll give up something else in order for you to have a chance. It does not necessarily mean that compromising and cooperation couldn't happen concurrently, but they are two different things. Just like compromise is not the same thing as accommodation. You ask me for something and I can make it happen. I didn't compromise necessarily. I may have accommodated your request. Compromise really costs me something. And that's a big difference. Cooperation, it doesn't necessarily cost you anything. You're utilizing something that you have. Whereas with compromise, I may set aside something that I could use, or set aside a right that I feel like I have for the benefit of someone else, and maybe for the benefit of some greater good. Compromise really is a strength. And so if you're a manager and you have influence over a team, which you ought to, then your ability to demonstrate compromise is the first step in helping staff know that it's safe, it's okay, and that it has practical value. When a manager says, I know I can do this, and I know I want to do this, but I hear what everybody else is saying and they want to go a different route, or they want to try this a different way to start with. Okay, I'll concede. I'm happy to give my influence away to give you the power and say, yeah, let's try it that way. All right, I'll compromise this time and not do it the way that I think it should be. That sends a great message to your team that you are secure enough in your influence, in your power that you could exert to give it away. Once a manager starts to feel comfortable in doing that, and unfortunately we have too many managers that aren't comfortable in doing that because they've worked hard to get to this position, and you're going to listen to me. That's not really the best way to have lasting impact on your team. You certainly can micromanage, but what is that really going to do for folks? Is that going to teach them, right, how to do something long term? So I think, again, by example, that's the first way to do it. And then secondly, I think sometimes you have to be direct as a manager with your team to say, hey, Sue, hey, Mike, this is a chance for you to compromise. I know that every time we get together at our weekly huddle, you want to talk about this particular issue and do it the way that you think it should be done. But as a team, we've made a different decision. Could you tone it down? Would you be willing to compromise in this one area for the success of someone else, for the success of the team as a whole? And then when we come back around to the next thing, maybe you'll have people on your side championing your cause. Those that will say, yeah, Sue didn't do what she had recommended last time because we influenced her. Let's pay attention to her this time. She was willing to sort of work with us. Let's work with her moving forward. You might need to come up alongside your team to say, hey, this is the time to compromise. Yeah, this can be difficult, right? And the reason that this is difficult is because what are the ideals? And I would say if you're really dipping your toe deliberately into this compromise perspective, start with things that are not going to get people riled up from an ideological standpoint. So that means religion, politics, those sorts of things which are happening in the workplace today, right? This year has been fraught with those kinds of discussions, or the opportunities for those discussions. If you allow that to be what most people are chatting about, then when there is something that comes along that's specific to, say, a work process or product or service, those conversations with others about those ideals will influence the way in which they're going to approach those areas that are really work specific. If you want to help people learn how to compromise around ideals, You want to do so in ways that have a very specific practical component to it. So that's going to be things like, if you think about process improvement, if you are a lean manufacturing person, if you're a Six Sigma person, if you're one of other ISO or any other process improvement methodologies, people are going to have different perspectives on that. That's an ideology. Come back to what is being trying to be achieved and allow people to sort of compromise in that particular process rather than doing the grand ideological compromise. Come to the specific. As a result of some of the specifics that are done, you then, as the leader, as the manager, could help your team thread the needle through what have we now learned about these 2, 3, 4, 5 different occurrences where we've experienced some great compromise. What does that tell us about our ideology? What have we created? In those ways, you help people to believe in what they've experienced, boots on the ground, rather than just being about, I want to argue a theory. Their theories are going to be influenced by what it is they've actually experienced. So your job as a manager, if you really want to have an influence long term, is to handle it bit by bit, step at a time. I'm John Baldino from Humareso.